This year is almost over, so it's time to look back at all the gaming greatness 2017 has brought us. In this video, we want to take a look at the best bosses the year had to offer. With so many great game releases, we had plenty of material to choose from. Here is our top 10 video game bosses of 2017. And spoiler warning, of course. Super Mario Odyssey was an absolute joy to play and had some very original ideas in its game design. The boss fights were also very creative, as they each had an original mechanic you needed to figure out. We loved battling a giant stone head and taking over his fist to punch him in the face. The old school level where you had to beat Donkey Kong was also extremely fun in a nostalgic kind of way. However, our favorite has to be the Lord of Lightning, that comes out of nowhere. Bowser just suddenly shows up on a dragon and you need to fight said dragon. We loved every second of this unconventional Mario boss.
The Eye of Shiva.
From the moment you meet Asaf in Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, you want to beat him up. As it turns out, evil Steve Jobs is kind of a badass. You fight him a couple of times in the game and each fight is pretty epic. He's a tough adversary, and certainly not one you want to take lightly. You need to dodge his attacks with perfect timing and strike him as soon as you see an opening.
Proud of yourself?
A little, yeah. Come on.
We know it's not the most interesting fight on a gameplay level, but the cinematic action still makes it very awesome. We especially like the final fight against him, where you and Nadine work together in a great way.
This short? Well, you can't fake this. It has taken me weeks to finish this, and it is finally ready.
Resident Evil 7 successfully brought the series back to its survival horror roots earlier this year. However, it wouldn't be a Resident Evil game without some great boss battles. The bosses in this game are all a mix of combat and puzzling, as you need to figure out their weaknesses while avoiding attacks. The boss that impressed us the most is Lucas. Instead of fighting him head-on, he drops you in a room where you need to figure out how to escape.
Alright, what do you say we play a little game? All you gotta do is light the candle and put it on the cake.
It's quite an ingenious series of puzzles that look like they came straight out of the Saw movies. Figuring out how to escape this nightmarish room without getting killed was one of the best moments in Resident Evil 7. Somehow, Ubisoft managed to convince Nintendo to put Mario and some rabbits into a tactical XCOM strategy game. This turned out to be a great idea, and is one of our favorite games on the Switch. It has a couple of memorable boss fights that brought a smile to our face. Especially Phantom made us laugh with his opera song in which he disses Mario.
Slithering down every pipe, despite his plum-shaped body type.
The battle itself is also pretty interesting, as you need to disable his spotlights before you can attack him. Fighting this opera singer reminded us of the mighty Pooh from Conker's Bad Fur Day, which is a good thing.
With great joy in my heart, each time I watch Mario Kart, you're first and doing so well, but here comes the spiny shell.
Horizon Zero Dawn gave us some of the best boss battles this year. That's kind of a weird thing to say since the creatures in this game aren't bosses in the typical sense of the word. However, many of the mechanical dinosaurs required enough planning and tactics that they are essentially bosses. We especially liked taking down Thunderjaws, as they are so brutally overpowered. This mechanical T-Rex has amazing offensive capabilities as it's decked out with all sorts of guns and rains down bullets at you. It's really fun to strip it from its cannons with a couple of tear blast arrows. Beating a boss with its own weapons is just beautiful.
My turn.
Sonic Mania returned the blue hedgehog to its former glory by giving us old-school platforming action in the best way possible. It also happens to have some of the best boss fights in the series. The sheer originality and difficulty of some of these bosses makes them feel challenging in a refreshing kind of way. Almost every boss battle in this game is a love letter to the franchise. The boss in the Planet Zone is particularly special. Instead of a traditional fight, the stage turns into a game of Puya Puya. This is a direct reference to the Sega game Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine from 1993. It's these kind of wonderfully deep cuts that make Sonic Mania such a great game for longtime Sega fans. Sega gave Western Yakuza fans no less than 2 new games this year. Yakuza Zero and Yakuza Kiwami featured just about everything you could ask for in a video game about Japanese crime. They also delivered some of the most intense boss battles of 2017. Our favorite fight has to be the one against Kiji Shibusawa. The final boss of Yakuza Zero is no joke, and you will have to act fast to counter his unbelievably powerful moves. Switching to rush mode and quickly dodging his attacks as you lay into him feels so good. It's an epic and over-the-top battle we just can't get enough of, and a fantastic end to a game. At the beginning of the year, Neo gave us Dark Souls-like gameplay in a samurai setting. We all know a good Souls game needs to have a lot of boss battles, and this game didn't disappoint. There are many huge mythical creatures you need to beat that look absolutely stunning. However, our favorite boss in the game is a simple human. Shima Sakon is a samurai warrior that challenges you to a battle of timing and precision. You need to remain calm and wait for the right moment to strike, since his attacks do a lot of damage. You're effectively dancing with this guy in a beautiful and deadly way. While we love huge monsters, sometimes it's the more realistic fight that leaves the biggest impression.
Get red hot and begin!
Cuphead is essentially a boss rush game in which you need to beat a series of challenging bosses. While every fight is extremely difficult, the game somehow manages to stay fun to play. Maybe it's because of the amazing graphics that really make you feel like you're playing a cartoon from the 1930s. The boss we enjoyed the most has to be Jimmy the Great.
A great slam and then some. You're up!
He is actually one of the easier bosses in the game, which is nice. The design of the level is what makes him awesome. Everything looks amazing, from the animation of Jimmy to the rotating background with a maze and pyramid. He goes through multiple phases that are all great, and the sound effects fit the action so well. Replaying this boss never gets old. Being huge lovers of video game bosses, we are always interested when Platinum Games releases a new game. Nobody does big spectacular boss battles better than these guys. Nier Automator certainly didn't disappoint, as it actually gave us a lot of emotional backstory to the diverse cast of characters. Our favorite boss in the game has to be Soshi. This spider robot starts off with an electrical shield that makes him invulnerable.
9S, that Goliath we just encountered.
I got it. I've been keeping an eye on you. I'm gonna shut off power to the factory now.
Do it!
Your own robot buddy hacks the factory's power while you need to keep avoiding his attacks. Then comes the big surprise.
2B, I just shut down the electrical grid.
Enemy shield deactivated.
Fighting is so much more intense when it takes place in the dark. It's an adrenaline-pumping battle, and it doesn't hurt that it's set to one of the best pieces of music in the game. So there you have it, our favorite boss fights of 2017. What are some of your favorite bosses in games from this year? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel.